what is quick, easy, and still possible. Safe washing method at the self-service box without having to lug tons of material and chemicals around with me. With that, I say grazie, service, and hello. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to this channel. On this channel, we have been dealing with car care for years, specifically car care. If we look at it as a spectrum right here at the outer end, that means we focus on the most gentle cleaning, washing, and sealing methods for the car. Our aim is to work as gently and scratch-free as possible during the washing process. And that's why I think it's here in this video, an exciting alternative and perspective for you to learn from people who are moving in this extreme way, how you can use the self-service box without bringing your own chemicals. You would treat and clean your car quickly, easily, and above all, in the most gentle way. For what we're about to do and for what I'm going to show you shortly, we only need 5 things. We need a wash bucket, and you can use any one from the hardware store. Get them. We need microfiber drying towels. I would really recommend getting some good car care microfiber drying towels, microfiber wash mitts, at least 2. A brush and a wheel wash mitt, but that's all there is to it. As I said, in this video, we're trying to show you a washing method where you don't need to bring your own chemicals. We're starting our journey here with what you probably have at every self-service box, and we'll quickly go through which programs we'll need shortly. We need this for the pre-cleaning. Sometimes that means power foam, sometimes that means pre-cleaning. Whatever it says on this, we need some chemistry from the self-service box itself. What we're applying to the car in the first step, that's the first step, and I'll show you that right now. We don't need to make this into unnecessary rocket science. I'm putting a token in here, selecting the power foam, and then I'm applying the power foam to the whole car, including the wheels. Sometimes you have to wait a moment until the foam comes back. Now, right, yes. We have made it this far, and now I will tell you briefly why we are doing this. The reason we're doing this is to get as much dirt off the car as possible before we even touch it with a brush or a wash mitt. This step is by far the most important when it comes to gentle car care, and that's what sets a gentle manual hand wash apart from everything else. As already mentioned, it is all about hand washing as gently as possible and as scratch-free as possible. And what causes scratches on your paint is not just something like a brush, but also the dirt that you might rub around there. And that's why we're applying the foam or the pre-cleaner here. First, let it sit on the car. With a foam like this, I would also say it depends a bit on the weather and temperature. If it's a bit warmer and you can already see that it's starting to dry, don't leave it on for too long. If it's colder or if it's wet outside, you can definitely leave it on a bit longer. It shouldn't, or rather it must not dry on you. So we're going to let it sit for a few minutes and then we'll rinse it off. Now that we've pre-cleaned the car, we're rinsing off the power foam and moving on to the washing. We're not using the brush that's at the self-service station because, as we've shown you in a separate video on this channel, it will cause scratches. And to be clear, this will cause worse scratches than any automatic car wash in existence. No matter what the operators of these self-service stations tell you, even if the brush itself is relatively new, modern, and gentle, we don't know what the person who used it before us did with that brush. There's probably still dirt in there, and that's why I would never recommend using this wash brush here. Unless you have a microfiber brush cover, which is available nowadays. This is a microfiber material that goes over the brush. And with that, you can and should actually wash your car, the self-service station wash. But now we're going to use microfiber wash mitts and also the wash program for that. And we're going to take a look at that right now. You've seen it. At this self-service box, I can get water out, and especially warm water. That's definitely a luxury. If you can't do that, you can just take a canister of water from home, or there are these wash buckets, also with a lid attachment where you can fill it up right here. You can screw a lid on, which makes it leak-proof, and then you can take it like that The important point is simply that we need this water to clean our washing tools, whether we're using a brush with microfiber or whether we're using microfiber wash gloves. In the water, we can rinse them out in between. And that's another important principle, how we can work as gently as possible at the self-service box, even without our own brought-in chemicals. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you now. So I'm putting in a token again, and now I'm selecting the wash program. And then after a certain time, it comes out of the lance. Now, shampoo water is coming out. And now I just look that it lands everywhere on the whole car and on the entire paint. Some of these shampoo water lands, and if I still have some left, then I can also take the wash bucket and hold it in there now, so that I also have foam in the bucket. I still have a little time, so I'm just going to add more shampoo. Don't forget the rims. All right, that's enough for now. And with that, we can start the washing. For the wash, we're grabbing the microfiber wash gloves. Put them in this wash bucket. You can either leave one of them in or take it out. If you want a recommendation, just take it out and you'll understand straight away why. And once we've soaked this one in shampoo, we can start washing now. You can either slip in here or you can also twist the cuff in and just use it as a wash pad. And then we wash here without pressure over the paint in straight lines. Honestly, whether you make circular motions or straight lines doesn't really matter that much. For me, it's just a check so that when I look after the wash and see that I have straight scratches, I know they came from me, while the circular ones usually come from something else. I'm washing half of the roof. Again, without pressure, turn the glove to the other side now and wash the other side of the roof with the other side. And do the same thing there, straight lines without pressure. The shampoo that I have on the paint and in the bucket helps me create a lubricating film which minimizes the risk of scratches. And now, if we use both sides of the wash glove and have dirt in it, we go into the wash bucket and shake it out in the water. The nice thing is, if you use white gloves, you can check again if you have any dirt particles in there. You can also wipe it out if necessary. And once you've rinsed it out, we go back onto the paint. And this process, washing part by part in a comprehensive manner, take the dirt off, turn the glove over. Let's do another part. And then when we've used both sides, we go back into the wash bucket and shake it out. We're going to do this for the whole car. You noticed I started at the top of the roof and I've only washed down to about this point. It's a very simple principle. Most of the dirt is at the bottom of the car. That means I always wash from top to bottom so that both my washing tool as well as the water we have in the bucket should stay clean for as long as possible. Now that I've finished with all the areas on top of the vehicle, I'm taking the second wash mitt and I'm going to wash the lower areas of the vehicle. And just the lower areas, because as I said, that's where we tend to have the most dirt. And I'll show you that right now. Now I'm working down here. Wow, I'm currently going through down here. And just take a look. Despite the good pre-cleaning, we really have the most dirt here. Now I'm going back to the wash bucket, shaking it out and rinsing it out as well. I'm also scrubbing that really well. And this dirt is now, of course, ending up in the bucket and in the water. And if I hadn't used two gloves, if I hadn't done the upper areas first, I would have been getting new dirt on the car over and over again. That's why we work with two mitts and rinse them out in between. Now that I've finished with the rest of the car, I've put my gloves aside. Please never put microfiber on the floor. The advantage of microfiber is that it absorbs dirt and stays there until you release it again in a liquid like this. So if you throw them on the ground, they'll pick up all the dirt there. That's why you should always place it somewhere away from the ground. Microfiber rim brush, microfiber wash mitts. We still have shampoo water on the rims and we have shampoo water in the bucket. That's why we're working with a brush now. And of course, a wheel cleaner would help us here. But I wanted to show you a washing method that still produces good results without using any external chemicals, without bringing any chemicals with you. And in that regard, it must also be said that completely contactless wheel cleaning doesn't exist. No matter how good a wheel cleaner is, we will still have to go over it with a mitt or a brush to get 100% of the dirt off. And that's why even with a good wheel cleaner, it's a step that can't be skipped if we want to get them 100% clean. We'll do this on all 4 rims and then we'll rinse them off. So we've washed the car now. We're now rinsing off the remaining shampoo and the loosened dirt that we have in the car. And then comes the next step, which is this wax program here. Sometimes it's called a gloss dryer, sometimes it's called wax, and sometimes it's called a wet sealant. It doesn't matter at all. It's about the fact that we haven't just cleaned the car, but we've also applied a somewhat decent sealant to it, which will help keep the car from getting dirty as quickly and will make it easier to wash during the next cleaning. Using this is super easy, and I'll show you how now. All right, I'll show you this on the roof because it's often the easiest place to see it. I put a token in, select the wax program, and then you press the lance. And wait a moment, because it takes a little while for the wax program to come through. Now it's just water, water, water. Now you can see it, the wax is coming out. You can see it very, very well. I'm going to treat the whole car with this. That means I'm really spraying it all over the car, including the glass and the rims. You can already see how the water film is breaking up. And now you select the rinse program again at the self-service box and then just rinse it off. You don't need to leave it on for minutes. We're waiting again until pure water comes out. Now we're going to fill everything up. So that's it. No one is forcing you to use the wax program after washing, but believe me, you're doing yourself and your car a favor. You now have a certain base seal on your car, which means that resoiling takes longer and isn't as strong. The next time you wash it, cleaning will be much easier because the dirt doesn't have as much of a chance to stick to the car. And if you do this every 2, 3, or 4 weeks, then you'll have an absolutely top seal on your car. Now we're almost done. We're going to do one last intermediate step. All right, so we've used the wax program. We have rinsed off the wax residues. And now before drying, there's one last step. And that's something you really find in most SP boxes. This is sometimes called a gloss rinse. Sometimes it's labeled as demineralized water. And sometimes it's referred to as reverse osmosis water. It's about using water here in a final step to rinse the car again. This reduces the risk of subsequent water and lime spots, if not completely eliminates it. We'll do that quickly and then we'll dry the car. We use the last intermediate step for 2 things. I'm throwing in a Chateau and now I'm selecting the gloss rinse. On the one hand, as I said, it is about getting the hard water off the car and putting demineralized water on it. And it's also about, I hope you hear me, that we're now going to get the very last remnants of shampoo off the car. So you really need to pay attention to this, Tariq. As long as we still have shampoo residues or wax residues or anything on the car, it can dry on and create ugly spots and streaks. Now we're ready for drying. And for drying, we're using microfiber drying towels, as I mentioned. If you're drying with a classic owl car leather and are happy with it, for heaven's sake, keep doing it. I can simply tell you, in my opinion, the days of leather are over because it doesn't dry so well. You have to constantly fray it. This here is just better, and that's exactly what I want to show you. I have two here. I have one that's a bit larger, and I have one that's a bit smaller. I'll put the smaller one here on the mirror. We'll use that later. And now comes the beautiful magic with these drying towels here. These are called twisted pile drying towels. You throw it on the paint, pull it over, and it dries your car because it's sealed. And since there isn't much water left on it, with one swipe, you don't have to rub. And that way we have much less risk of scratches again. So you see, it's really just about a car wash that's as gentle as possible. And from here, I'll show you this up close because it's really fascinating. I throw the towel on, pull it over the paint, and it's dry. Other side. I pull it over, and I dried the hood. Now we have to be honest and transparent here. And that's something that the sellers of these towels like to keep to themselves. They do show you how to pull it over the paint and the water goes away. Here on this side, you obviously have to press down lightly. Emphasis on lightly. But what no one tells you is that if you haven't sealed your car and there's a film of standing water on it, then they still dry. Good and better than a chamois, but by no means as good as what I just showed you. So you have to be realistic about it. And to dry the entry areas now, I'm using the smaller 40x40 cm cloth because it's much more convenient. And I can reach these areas much better. Two final notes about these cloths, because it's important to me that we stay transparent and fair and don't sell you any nonsense. If you're using cloths around this size, 70x40, 80x50, 90x60, or something like that with a weight of 1200 to 1600 GSM. Then one of these cloths is enough to dry a car of that size. If you have a larger car, I would recommend it. It's better to get two towels because even these towels, which absorb water fantastically well, will eventually fill up. And if you want these wipes to last as long as possible, don't wash them. Use with your regular laundry and with a regular detergent, especially never fabric softener, because these wipes also absorb the fabric softener and then they won't absorb water anymore. The best option would be a dedicated car care microfiber detergent, and that's it. Just about 15 to 20 minutes of effort. In terms of cost, I didn't need more than 10 shed tools or coins. This means that we are at less than 10 euros for water or chemicals that we get at the wash station. A wash bucket costs between 10 and 20 euros, depending on the features, color, size, and so on. If you're really getting a dedicated car care wash bucket, as I said, you can also get one from Obi or any random hardware store. Microfiber wash mitts start at under 10 euros and go up to just over 20 euros. The wheel brush that I showed you, which we also recommend, costs just under 15 euros. The small wash mitt for the wheel is also just under 10 euros. Drying cloths come in a huge range of prices. The cheaper ones start at just under 10 euros and go up to over 20 euros. So in total, we're looking at spending around 60, 70 or 80 euros, but each of these materials can be reused. And if you take good care of the 8, can you reuse them basically endlessly, or at least for a few years? As I said, we're actually done now. That means we cleaned our car very, very nicely in just 15, 20 minutes. We sealed it until the next wash, and we worked very gently and without any scratches. That was my goal with this video, to show you how to work as scratch-free and gently as possible at the self-service wash box without bringing your own chemicals. At the beginning of the video, I already mentioned that car care is a spectrum, and you can take this game of maximum gentle, scratch-free car washing to infinity. And if you're willing to bring a little bit of your own chemicals along, and if the operator of the self-service wash box allows it, I would like to introduce you to 4 more products or product categories that will at least make our work easier. And they bring a little more safety and a bit more performance with each individual cleaning step. Step 1, the good old rim cleaner. Most of us know it, especially rim cleaners with an integrated effectiveness indicator, which we spray onto the rims. Then let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes, usually depending on the manufacturer's instructions, of course. Then this wonderful color change happens, which also signals to us that the cleaning action is taking place. And then we rinse it off. What we would do in the very first step, before we spray the pre-cleaner or the power foam onto the car, is to let the wheel cleaner work on all 4 wheels for as long as the power foam does. If you're looking for some specific product recommendations that have been reliable and effective for years, I suggest the wheel cleaners from Sonax, especially the Felgen Beast, the Extreme Wheel Cleaner, or the Red Max in the 5-liter container from Kochemit. There's also the Reactive Wheel Cleaner, the Magic Wheel Cleaner, or the Reactive Rust Remover from Gion. The Iron Wheel Cleaner from CarPro, the Wheel X or the Dr. Wack P21s and P21s high-end. If you notice that the power foam on your self-service box is not working so well, if it's able to loosen or remove the dirt you have on your car, then you might want to take a look at a dedicated car care pre-cleaner. There are hundreds of different products. This one here, for example, works very reliably for me. You spray that on yourself, on the whole car. My tip is it doesn't always have to be the whole car. You can also just focus on the areas that are particularly dirty in the first step. The rear, the lower areas, the front. You spray it on and let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes according to the manufacturer's instructions in this specific case. And then you rinse it off. So just to remind you, first rinse the wheels with the wheel cleaner, then use a pre-cleaner. Here, apply it, wait a moment, and then rinse off. Pre-cleaners are usually on the alkaline side, so they are not pH neutral products. And some pre-cleaners like this one here, for example, can also be foamed up. If your car is sealed and especially not that dirty, then you can also start with a pH neutral pre-cleaner, particularly a pH neutral snow foam, and apply it with a device like this one here, which is either hand operated, that means you pump it up and then apply it, or in this case, here, it's even battery operated. Overall, it's quite affordable because you need very, very little product. Typically 10 to 50 milliliters of a pH neutral snow foam is enough. Here we even have a measuring cap integrated, so I'll put that in here and screw the lid on. Make sure it's properly sealed, then turn the device on. And then it starts to pump up. This particular device can hold 1.5 liters, and then as you can see, you can foam the car. If for some reason you don't trust the power foam at your self-service box, 1.5 liters is relatively tight, so you have to remain open and honest. This means it's better to get a ready-made mix. In a PET bottle, then you can go around the whole car twice. But basically, it's exactly the same step I showed you earlier with the power foam. If you want some specific recommendations here, especially if you're dealing with more heavily soiled cars, and if your washing intervals are longer, then you should go for an alkaline pre-cleaner. The Sternagloss First works fantastically here. Good. This is also a product that you use just as it comes in the bottle. If you prefer to work with concentrates, the Labo Cosmetica Primus 2.0 or the Sonax Multistar work really, really well here. If you prefer something pH neutral, that you can also foam up, Dodo Juice, iFoam, Sternagloss, Snö, the Dr. Wack. Let's not forget, his name is A1 Power Foam, Adibe Elieri, or also Sonax Rich Foam, or Sonax Active Foam Energy. For the second step, for hand washing, use a car shampoo. I know what most of you are thinking right now. Well, dish soap works too. Using dish soap is not a good idea for several reasons. We already made a separate video on this topic here on this channel. Feel free to check that out and you'll learn something there. And especially, these car shampoos aren't that expensive, especially when you choose ones that are really good. Because with this one here, for example, you only need 10 milliliters of product for a 10-liter wash bucket, or a measuring cap. And take a look. It's amazing how little that is. I put it in here and then I can wash an entire car with it. A car shampoo ensures that you have a very, very good lubricating film. This, in turn, reduces the risk of scratches, and it can also be washed cleanly off the car. And it's still gentle on all the materials we have here on the exterior of the car. That means a car shampoo is also something that makes our work here at the self-service washes easier and can make the washing experience even more enjoyable, because most of these shampoos also come with a really pleasant scent. While we're on the subject of washing, you really need to do an incredible amount of safety here. If you want to ensure a lot for your washing method, really get yourself a proper car care wash bucket. Not because the wash buckets themselves are safer than a bucket from Obi, but because there are inserts for these wash buckets that are called dirt traps. This here is currently one of the best dirt traps available. You put it in your wash bucket. It ensures that the dirt you loosen while washing and rinse out with the wash mitt stays at the bottom because it seeps through here. As you can see, the openings and holes on the top are relatively large, and on the back they are relatively small. That means this part not only keeps the dirt at the bottom of the wash bucket where it belongs, but you can also wipe the wash mitt off much better against the bottom of the bucket. In between, that's definitely worth considering. The safety and scratch-free nature of washing will increase massively. Honestly, there are a lot of really good car shampoos on the market. But if you want some specific recommendations, there's the Fireball Superstar Shampoo, the good old Sonax car shampoo, the Enso 1, the Dodo Juice Born to be Mild, or the Labo Cosmetica Semper shampoo. And then finally, we have products called wet sealants or drying aids. They basically do the same thing as the wax program I showed you earlier. So in the last step, while the car is still wet, you spray this on, let it build up on the paint a bit, and then rinse it off immediately. I'll show you how it works. It's not rocket science. You make sure to spray. Grab the foam lance, the regular lance, not the foam lance. Select the rinse program. Make sure that the paint is wet, and then you spray this on. As I said, it builds up on the paint a bit, and then you rinse it off immediately. Alternatively, you can just keep spraying the whole time and hold it in the water stream. You've basically done the same thing as with the wax program. These products are simply a bit more performant, stronger, last longer, and create a more pronounced hydrophobia. But you have to be careful here when it's warm outside. And if your paint is especially warm or hot, do you really have to work in sections here? Or, as I showed you, spray it into the water stream? If you apply it to the whole car and then rinse it off, you might actually create streaks or clouds with these products. That means you need to be a bit careful. And that would be an alternative to the wax program at the self-service car wash. And here again are a few specific product recommendations that work really well in this regard. This category is called wet sealants, by the way. John Wet Coat the surfaces Hydro Ceramic. Wet Coat Carpro Hydro 2 Light or Enso Aquila. And with that, I've shared everything I wanted to tell and show you in this video. I hope that for you in your washing routine, you could take something away from the self-service box, and that you can now develop a washing method that is as safe and scratch-free as possible for you, based on the inputs we've given you in this video. If you found the video helpful, informative, exciting, and interesting, please give us a thumbs up and support the channel with a free subscription. And we would be very happy if you tune in for the next video as well. Hello?